back now with Craig Button. And Craig, Connor Bedard started his career with a face-off against Sidney Crosby. Tonight, he's coming back for the rematch. His first game back since he suffered that broken jaw on January the 5th that ultimately required surgery. He was supposed to miss 6 to 8 weeks, but he's back in 5. Craig, are you the least bit surprised that this kid's even defying the odds when it comes to how quickly he comes back from injury?
No, not at all. I mean, I can't recall Connor Bedard being hurt. I mean, you get a broken jaw, it's got to be reset. You talk about the surgery, everybody heals at different rates. They said 6 to 8 weeks, a little bit ahead of that. I'm not surprised. First of all, they're not going to put Connor Bedard at any risk of further injury by prematurely putting him back in the lineup. There's just no way that's going to happen. So, therefore, nobody should be surprised that he's coming back, because that means that he's fully healthy and ready to get back into the lineup and play, which is great news for Chicago Blackhawks fans. It's great news for hockey fans. For Connor Bedard, another thrill facing off against Sidney Crosby.
Now, despite missing those 5 weeks, Bedard's still the favorite to win the Calder right now. So let me ask you this. What's the better bet? Bedard returns and captures the Calder, or someone from the crowded field emerges to surpass him and take the award?
There's not a crowded field, Gino. There's one other player that could challenge Connor Bedard, in my view, and that's Brock Faber, the defender for the Minnesota Wild. And you watch what Connor Bedard has done. Yes, he missed 5 weeks, a lot of games. But at the same time, I think that it was his position to lose. You're a favorite. I don't think anybody knocked him off. Is Brock Faber in the conversation? Absolutely he is. This isn't a field. I think you should ask me the question this way. Could Brock Faber win the Calder? He could. I'm betting on Connor Bedard all the way.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk about tonight's opponent, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Things have gone really off the rails for them. They're only 1 point ahead of the Montreal Canadiens. That's 7 points back of a playoff spot. We've never seen a Crosby-led team in this kind of position. What do you think of their chances of climbing back into a playoff spot this year?
Yeah, well, Gensel's out for 4 weeks, or up to 4 weeks now, with an upper body injury. So one of their best 4 forwards is gone. And this has been a season for the Pittsburgh Penguins that hasn't gone anywhere near their expectations. So when I look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, I see them as missing the playoffs for the second consecutive year, even with Gensel. I think that when you're looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins, you're not looking at a team that's at a crossroads. I think they're staring into the abyss. They need to make significant changes. I think trading Gensel, the medical doctors are going to become a big part of that, because they're going to want to know what his health is for teams that are looking to acquire him. I would consider trading Riley Smith and others. I think that this is an end point that can create a new starting point for the Pittsburgh Penguins. There is no problem with their older players. Crosby, Letang, Malkin have all been very, very good, and their contract status is very strong. The problem is they have too many players that don't become productive too much of the time. That's not going to work to make in the playoffs. It certainly doesn't make them a Stanley Cup contender.
So how quickly can they turn this thing around? Sidney Crosby's 36 right now. You'd hate to see him spend the next 3 or 4 years on a team that can't even make the playoffs. You've been a general manager in this league. Where would you go moving forward with this?
Well, you have to do it in steps, Gino. Number one, I just mentioned trading Gensel, trading potentially Riley Smith, looking at other areas where you can create some opportunity to get draft picks, to get some young prospects. They have Braden Yeager, who was their first-round draft pick last year from Moose Jaw, is a really good young player. Owen Pickering's going to need a couple of years. But to try to get some more players, go back to 16-17 when they won those back-to-back Stanley Cups. They had an influx of young players, Gensel, Brian Russ, Connor Sheary, come into the lineup and really give them a boost. And certainly that is lacking now for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the first steps are to try to get some prospects and some draft picks, and then go from there. Cap's going up, opportunity to improve your team. I don't think this is a long-term situation, because you have players, Letang, Malkin, and Crosby, that are playing very well.
Getting back to the head-to-head matchup between Crosby and Bedard, Bedard could get some bragging rights if he does win the Calder. Rookie of the Year trophy that Crosby did not win. That's the only individual trophy he hasn't won. Alex Ovechkin beat him out back in 2006.